All right, hello Gauchos. It's good to be back. Well, Chancellor Yang, Executive Vice Chancellor Marshall, Dean Alfernus, Dean Wiltzius, Dean Belts, esteemed faculty, proud parents, family, friends, and most importantly, the UCSB College of Engineering class of 2017. Congratulations. So I'm honored to be here today. But I have to say, I'm also a little bit concerned. As I understand it, you guys are the new graduates of the #1 public university in the world for engineering research impact. You got Nobel laureates walking around campus. What are you doing, UCSB? Please tell me you still wear flip-flops to class, and that you use skateboards to transport kegs from SOS to DP. Okay, good. I was worried for a minute. So Dean Alfernus was very kind in inviting me to share my story with you today. I was in your seat not too long ago in 2004, and I'd like to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned after UCSB. So the first lesson for me was customer first, technology second. It's easy to fall in love with technical solutions, and what I've come to appreciate is that technology is great when it solves real problems that customers have and that they're willing to pay for. It's all about the customer and their problems and not about the technology. So after UCSB, I went to Cornell for a PhD in biomedical engineering, and all I knew was that I wanted to build products that would help people. I thought I might figure out useful solutions that would help people through observing patients in hospitals. And the idea for our company, GeneWeave, came after we noticed that there's a huge problem with how hospitals detect and treat drug-resistant infections. The World Health Organization recently called this problem the biggest threat to modern medicine. Yet the process for deciding on how to treat infected patients is based on the slow process of growing bacteria, and this process hasn't really changed in about 100 years. And so over the past few decades, there have been many attempts to improve on these tests, and with a powerful DNA detection technology called PCR. It's much faster than growing bacteria. And while the PCR was a great technology and cool enough to win the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in '93, it could not rule out the treatment for infections. It's a great technology, but it's just not the right tool for this particular job. Instead, we focused on what customers would need to make the right clinical decision. And so we started from scratch, ignoring the prevailing technology, and we came up with a new one. The technology we invented causes bacteria to light up like a firefly. And this allows us to quickly measure how live bacteria respond to antibiotics. And this missing information is what PCR could not get, and it's exactly what doctors need to know to fight drug-resistant infections. Funny enough, the company that acquired us, Roche, they own the foundational patents for PCR, and they created an entire multi-billion-dollar industry from this technology. But more importantly, Roche is also a world leader in bringing novel solutions to patients in need. And our focus then on customers first led to the creation of the right technology second, and this is the reason why Roche acquired us. So the next lesson is one of perseverance. You hear it all the time, don't quit. It's true, but at the same time, it's also important to know when to adapt. Before starting my PhD program, I had not taken a biology course since high school. And I also didn't know anything about business. So I spent my first 2 years in a self-inflicted boot camp catching up on biology, and I snuck into MBA classes to learn business. So don't let little things like not knowing anything about the field you're going into get in your way. After coming up with the idea for GeneWeave, we had no money, and the technology, turns out, had nothing to do with my PhD thesis project. We lived on ramen noodles and burritos, critical skills that I acquired here at UCSB. We applied for every grant we can lay our hands on, and after a year of trying, we finally landed a $75,000 grant. Sadly, we didn't use this money to improve our diet. Instead, we used it to sponsor a postdoc to help work on the idea while we try to finish our thesis work in parallel. So once we had some data, we began pitching investors. By this time, one of my co-founders, Jason, he'd graduated from his MBA 2 years prior and was facing crushing MBA debt. He hadn't seen a paycheck in years, And my parents, who are here in the audience, right over there, hey mom. They were kind enough to let him sleep on their couch for 6 months while we looked for investment. And on our very last pitch, right before we gave up, we finally landed a term sheet for investment. So I submitted my thesis for defense, and everything looked like it was finally coming together. Then I learned I was not going to be allowed to defend. So at this point, I had a tough choice. After 5 years of working on my PhD, stay in New York and get my degree, or accept a venture investment, move back to California, knowing that most startups fail. So I left the PhD. So the lesson here is that perseverance is as much about adapting as it is about holding to a straightforward path. Any worthwhile journey will be hard and risky, and the best choices won't always be clear. You have to keep going, but also adapt to take advantage of opportunities and change directions when necessary. And by the way, a year and a half later, my advisor, Carl Batt, he invited me back to defend my thesis, and I got my PhD. Yeah. My folks were relieved. So the final lesson I want to share today is to celebrate early and often. It might sound like just having fun, but it's really about the importance of people and culture. I met my co-founders Leo and Jason in graduate school, and what kept us together was something hard to describe. We all got along really well. We worked like crazy. We challenged each other. We had different skill sets, and we all loved what we were doing. Later, I realized that our dynamic is what set the tone for the culture at our company, and this was a major contribution to our success. Since then, we built GeneWeave, growing from 3 to 120 employees. And the most important aspect of our company by far is our people, who we were able to recruit and retain because of this culture. Startups are only a little bit about the big idea. And what I've learned is that they're really about execution, which means it comes down to the people. In the beginning, the culture was just something that happened naturally. But as we began to grow, we formalized our culture with words like talent, humor, and caring. Every company will have its own culture and needs to define it to be successful. And while the cultures may be different, what's the same is how it can unite a group of people, excite their passions, and focus them on a common goal. One individual who helped bring this into focus for us was our CEO, Steve Tablak, who's a fellow gaucho, class of '81. So Steve created our company motto, celebrate early and often. I think he credits this lesson from life in IV. And just like all you gauchos, everyone at GeneWeave works really hard, but we also celebrate every chance we get. These celebrations recognize the hard work, but more importantly, they remind us that people are the foundation of success. So in closing, this year, the UCSB College of Engineering celebrates its 50th anniversary. And while reading an article published by Sonia Fernandez in the UCSB Current, it stuck out to me that the college was started with a sense of curiosity and possibility. As engineers from the most impactful public engineering school in the world, it's up to you now to carry the torch of curiosity and possibility to promote and advance science and technology for the betterment of society. As you take your next steps after UCSB, you'll realize that your experience here has provided you with all the tools you need to solve the world's problems, and that this has been one of the best experiences of your life. It certainly was for me. So for those of you building products, focus on the user and their needs first, and the technology second. Be conscious of the culture in the organizations you join, and especially the ones that you create. Whatever you end up doing, it'll be hard to do, but keep at it, adapt when necessary, and never forget to celebrate early and often. Thank you, class of 2017. Congratulations.